Prime Minister has promised never to let working people pay the price for an uncontrolled economy again. Yet millions of people across the UK are still facing soaring bills, stagnant wages and debt.
I sat down with Sir Keir Starmer yesterday afternoon after his Labour Party conference speech, in which he only made one reference to the cost of living crisis. And I told him about Rhonda, a single mum who works up to 50 hours a week to help cover her costs and her bills. She voted for the very first time during last year's general election, and she chose Labour, believing the party would improve her living standards. She says she now feels worse off. She won't vote Labour again. Let's take a listen to what the Prime Minister had to say, and then we'll get Rhonda's reaction.
I say to Rhonda that I absolutely understand the pressures that are bearing down on her, and I'm determined to change that.
How's that going to make her feel better?
Just hear me out. On food bills, for example, we worked really hard to get an agreement with the EU that will mean that food bills will go down because it will be much easier to transport those over borders. Every supermarket welcomed that deal because they knew that bills will go down.
Food inflation is way above inflation.
That is why,
and inflation is almost twice your target rate.
That's why we're taking the measures to bring those bills down, which
People
is
like
what
Rhonda,
the agreement
she's in
with
arrears.
the EU...
She can't wait for these things to happen. She voted for change and she hasn't got it.
On energy bills, obviously, we have got a scheme in place to bring bills down for millions of families, not everybody, I accept, and we will do other measures to bring those bills down.
Energy bills have gone up, Prime Minister.
I appreciate that, and our job is to bring them down.
Well, this morning we find out that energy bills are going to rise again. So Rhonda joins us now in the studio. Thank you very much indeed for coming in, Rhonda. It's really fascinating, your case, because I would say for many people watching, you represent a sort of typical story. Yeah. You voted for change, you wanted your living standards to improve, and more than a year on, how are you feeling?
Terrible. Overworked, underpaid, and little family life left now.
You work a lot of hours every week, don't you? Tell us about your bills.
Well, basically, my rent is £1,250 a month. I'm currently in arrears of about £600, facing eviction because of that. I private rent, so I've worked all my life, so 2 or 3 jobs. So, nothing seems to be changing. Council tax has gone up, and so is my rent, and I'm facing eviction for £650 arrears.
And what about that's a dreadful situation to be in, and I'm very sorry for you that you're in that situation. When you hear the Prime Minister says, well, he's trying to get the bills down, it doesn't help you now, does it?
No, it's not, because I've had to actually come off of universal credit because you're capped on how much you can earn. So it's better to get 2 or 3 jobs. I also do life coaching, just to get an extra income to get back on top of my arrears.
And the fact that you're working extra hours in order to get extra money in order to pay off your bills means you've now breached the threshhold for universal credit. What would you say to the Prime Minister, having listened to what he said to you?
He said about childcare, but he's talking about babies. My son's 12 years old, and there isn't any childcare. We live in Watford alone. We were forced to move out of London because of the cost of London, and now we're in Watford, struggling.
You're referencing the fact that whenever the Prime Minister is asked about what the government is doing for working people, he references the hours of childcare that the Labour government has provided. But as you say, that's fine if you've got children in that age, but your son is older than that.
Exactly. I don't get free school meals, I don't get anything, so I've got to actually do 50 hours a week, I work in domestic violence. I've worked in the job centre for 14 years, As soon as they brought in universal credit, you just think it's not going to help anybody.
We said in the intro that this election last year was the first time you had voted in a general election. You hadn't voted in 2019, 2017, 2015, when you could have voted. What was the reason that, compared to those past elections, you thought 2024 was the time to vote? And why did you vote for Labour? And I guess, why do you feel let down by what was promised?
Well, I come from a working class family. All of my family worked really hard. So I remember when I was younger, my grandmother and my mother, there was always help from the Labour Party, and the Conservatives were more for people with mortgages and everything like that, or, you know. So I thought this time we need help for the single people, you know, everybody's struggling, all my friends are struggling, you know, we need help. So I thought I'd vote Labour, but there hasn't been any change. Everything's gone up. I mean, the price of butter now is £4, ketchup is £4.50, you know. My groceries have gone from £50 a week to £80 a week, and then everything else suffers.
And do you think Keir Starmer, when he was persuading you to vote last year, did he say to you that he could make you better off this year?
Yes, definitely. We thought, you know, he would help single moms. He would help the normal, average working person. But, I mean, the average wage is £24,000 and universal credit is £22,000. So, you know, people that are working cannot afford to pay their rent. I've heard so many people say that.
But he says, you know, it was a vote for a parliament. He says, I need 5 years. I'm working hard, but it's too early. He says to you, Rhonda, give me more time.
We don't have time. I'm facing eviction and battling constantly with my landlord.
What does it make you think about who's going to get your vote next time?
We have to look at parties like Reform, you know, people that are for the people that have been here working for 42 years. You know, what are you doing for us?
What would Reform do for you?
Yeah.
What would they do for you?
Well, hopefully they'll give us a good cost of living, you know. Everything wouldn't go up, you know. The price of plastic bags is 60p, you know.
Have they said something which persuades you they would be able to get prices down?
Yeah, they just said we're just for the general working people, you know. They seem to care for people a lot more. It's not about privatising everything with them.
That's so interesting because, of course, when I spoke to the Prime Minister,
yeah,
it was in the days after he'd labelled at least one of their policies a racist policy on immigration. Does that put you off?
No, no, no. I was born here. My parents were born here. We've always worked, you know, and it's about supporting the people that have always been here working, the normal person.
Did your parents come here for the first time, or were they born here as well?
My parents were both born here, yeah.
Right.
It's so interesting talking to you, Rhonda, and especially having put your case to the Prime Minister, because it sounds like he has not addressed your concerns. Yeah. And the Prime Minister will be concerned listening to you because it's voters like you that he wants to hang on to.
Yeah.
What could he do to change your mind?
You know, let's get a decent wage in this country, maybe. Then we will be able to afford things and stop rising the price of food.
And when he says, I've raised the minimum wage, you get paid more than the minimum wage, so...
Yeah, no, there isn't any rise, because as soon as you rise your wage by 20p, your rent is going up, your council tax is going up, the petrol's going up, and everything's going up. So you can't balance it out at all.
It's all eaten up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rhonda, thank you for being with us. Really.
Let's hope the Prime Minister's listening to your interview this morning.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Let's see if you can win back your vote.
Thank you.